everybody, welcome back to Movies and That. I'm your host Cody, and yeah, it's been a while since I have done a video. It's been about a year, I think, since I stopped doing this. It just wasn't having the creative juices flowing anymore, wasn't getting too much traction, kind of stalled out there on views and subscribers and all that, and got a little discouraged, but decided to pick this back up and see if I can restart it and gain some traction and pick up a hobby that I did enjoy, and I feel like it's time to do it again. So thank you for tuning in, thank you for watching, and today the headline of the video here is my history with the Scream franchise. So if you've watched my previous videos or know really much about my love for horror movies, my favorite are Halloween and Friday the 13th. Those are my big two. Of course, I like a bunch of other horror franchises, including Scream. So the reason why I'm talking about Scream today is because other than Halloween and Friday the 13th, those are the first two that I started out with, Scream was the next one right after that. So it wasn't like Nightmare on Elm Street or Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Hellraiser or any of those. It was Scream. So my history with the Scream franchise and why I became a fan of it and why I like it to this day. I do remember seeing it, like bits and pieces of it when I was a kid. I think it was around like 1999 or 2000. The adults had it on, and I remember catching the first opening scene, the Drew Barrymore, the classic Scream opening there, and then like the end of the movie, so like that final act, but more technically like the final scene where Stu and Billy are going nuts. They've revealed their plan to Sidney and all that stuff. And I really remember that, but I don't really remember any of the other parts of the movie or anything like that. So it wasn't until after I went through the Halloween franchise, well, at least like the first 5, excluding Halloween 3, but like Halloween 1, 2, 4, and 5. I started watching Friday the 13th, so I only watched like a handful of those. And then I remember seeing the Scream VHS sitting in the movie cupboard. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. I knew Scream, Ghostface, I knew of that, so I was like, yeah, let's go for it. So I popped it in, watched it, and I got pretty hooked on Scream. So I did some research online back in the early days of the internet, just Scream in general, to see if there's any other Scream movies. And sure enough, there were 2 more. So it was Scream 2 and 3. And keep in mind, I'll back up here. I know I said, when I first saw Scream, it was like 99 or 2000. But again, that was bits and pieces. I didn't end up watching Scream entirely until like 03, maybe 04, but I think it was around 2003. So it was like 3 years after Scream 3 came out anyways. But yeah, sure enough, found out that there's a Scream 2 and a Scream 3, and I was like, awesome. So next time I go to the video store or go to Suncoast or FYE, I'm going to look for this. And funny enough, I'll never forget this. It was like not too long after, it might have been like a couple days to a week after I found out that there were 2 other movies for Scream. We were at a flea market, and I walked over to this guy who was selling movies, a bunch of old VHS tapes. Well, it wasn't old at the time, but you know what I'm saying. And the first thing that caught my eye was Scream 2 on VHS. So picked it up and got it, took it home, watched it, and I remember really liking it. I was like, man, I really need to watch Scream 3 now. I really like this series, this franchise. So I was hooked on Scream. I was hooked on Ghostface. I really liked the mask and the character. And actually, I think that year I was Ghostface for Halloween, if I remember correctly. So we did. I can't remember when I got Scream 3 though. Can't remember if I rented it. I think I rented it first from the video store. I'm pretty sure that's what I did, because I can't remember when I actually got it on VHS. I'm pretty sure I rented it though. And I remember even then, even my 11-year-old self at that time, I wasn't a fan of Scream 3 because it was just very different from the first two. I didn't quite grasp the concept of the whole stab movies and whatnot, and the whole Roman reveal at the end. And I don't know, it just felt like a weird, it was entirely, I don't want to say entirely, but it was much different than the first two. I knew I was watching a different Scream movie, and I don't know what it was, it just didn't feel like Scream to me. I don't know, it just felt different. So I really wasn't a fan from that point on, and to this day I still am not. So that's my history with the original three. And to be quite honest, I didn't really revisit any of them for the longest time. There was a few years there where, sure, like I'd watch the first one, maybe the second one, if it was on. Maybe I'd pop in the first or the second one here and there, but not as much as I was rewatching Halloween or Friday the 13th. The reason being is because Halloween and Friday the 13th have so many sequels, and it was just a lot easier for me, or I want to say a lot more enjoyable for me to just kind of like, one day I'm going to watch Halloween 4 and 5. The next day, maybe I'll watch Friday the 13th Part 2 or Part 6. With Scream, you kind of really didn't have that. You watch for me at least, I'd watch the first one and then maybe I'd put in the second one after or something like that. But then after I do that, it's like I wouldn't go back the week after and watch those movies again like I would with the Halloween franchise or the Friday the 13th franchise, and that's just because there wasn't that many movies to begin with. So, of course, in 2011, Scream 4 comes out, and that was the first time I actually saw Scream in theaters, and it was kind of like the Scream of my generation in a sense, if that makes sense, and really had a good time with Scream 4, and I like Scream 4 to this day. It's my third favorite in the franchise. I really do enjoy Scream 4. But I didn't end up getting that on Blu-ray until, honestly, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't pick that one up I don't know why. I just never really did. I think it's because it was like readily available on streaming and whatnot. And again, it was like Scream, though. It just never really was a franchise that I'd go back and really revisit too often. I don't know. Started off really loving it back when I was younger, and then just kind of fell off. And then of course you get Scream 5. It comes out. Saw that in theaters. Ended up picking it up on the day it released on video. But not a huge fan of Scream 5. Really am not. Like it's okay. It's okay. When I'm revisiting the franchise, of course I'm going to watch it, but I don't know. Wasn't my favorite. And then that's where we go into Scream 6. Of course, there on opening night, watched it, loved it all the way up until that final act, and then it completely lost me and really annoyed me. And honestly, I still haven't bought that on Blu-ray or anything yet. I plan on it just to complete it. Probably I'll do that when I see Scream 7 or before Scream 7 comes out. But I doubt I'll really ever rewatch it. The last time I rewatched it was on a flight to Miami. And I watched on the plane ride down there, and that was the last time. That was a couple years ago. That was like 2 years ago. Last time I watched that movie. And it wasn't long after it like released anyways, so that just goes to show I'm not a fan of that one either. So I kind of wrestle which one I don't like more, 6 or 3. 3 is still my least favorite, but yeah. But with that being said, everyone, that's, my history with the Scream franchise. Kind of just been a casual fan of it. Has grown on me throughout. I revisit them a little more often than I used to just because there's more of them. And that's the only reason. So I want to thank you, everybody, for watching. And this is going to be a new series I'm doing now, the history of myself with these franchises and, how I became a fan and, the first time I've seen them and the movies and whatnot. So thanks, everybody, for watching, and stay tuned for more.